Where's that pointing? Where's that bloody pointing at? Which camera is it using? Alright. Okay. Okay, we appear to be using the other camera. I have no idea it was actually even set up, but we're using the high D camera because all of a sudden it's working. Previously it was being awkward, so you're getting a different view of me. Sorry about the initial pointing at the ceiling or the back of the laptop, but I thought I was using the camera on the laptop. Anyway, shock intro aside, welcome to EvilGinger Miniatures, where I will be talking, rambling about various things, EvilGinger and wargaming related. And I will be fiddling about that camera until I've got the angle right, because it being the wrong angle annoys me slightly. Not entirely sure what I've got to be doing this evening. I was going to have a good chat about the action camera that I have got. However, I'm in a bit of a pickle with the action camera, as I appear not to have a Phillips screwdriver in the house, and I need one to help set it up. This, by the way, is the box which is designed to protect the camera from the nasty, painty physical environment that's around here, and I need a Phillips screwdriver there. I found my battery screwdriver, but I've not found any of the tops for it, so this is stuck to that until I can get out and get a screwdriver. I'm personally blaming Igor for having stolen my entire supply of screwdrivers at some point, because he was deeply into becoming confused and accusing me of stealing his tools when they just happened to be the same make he had. This is all the gubbins that goes with it, and I should be playing with that to see which bits are useful. And of course, the most important thing is the camera. The camera itself is here, and I was in process of unpacking it, but the plan is to stick it on an Alice band and sort of have it looking down while I'm doing the work. If that doesn't work, I have other plans, potentially with a forehead strap and stuff like that, so you'll see what I'm looking at. Gonna have to faff around with it. I was rather hoping to do some of that today between doing the varnishing, which is over there and still ongoing, and I've just looked at the current batch and there's stuff I'm going to have to go over and revarnish. This is the price of being paranoid with not wanting to paint your figures white accidentally with matte varnish. But I did get it, and whilst it isn't in use, it's here, and that was a mission. I've already, as you may have seen, got this thing recording MP4s, which are much, much easier than whatever format it was recording before, which seemed to require an awful lot of folders. And you might have been seeing that I've been putting up little things on Facebook with it. I will have a go at recording stuff on that and putting it up on YouTube. I've got a couple of walk rounds for Books and Banter, and I've also got the walk around the workshop that I did the other day, because again, gives you a better idea of what's going on. The office came to a bit of a halt because I was waiting for stuff to put curtains up, and I've now got a curtain rail, so as soon as I can locate or buy a screwdriver, mine all having mysteriously disappeared as previously mentioned, I will be doing that, and there will be more office, which will mean I can order the computer to go up there, because currently the area where the computer is going is currently full of boxes that should be going on shelving that are in full sunlight but won't be when I've got the curtains up. They're all in the 4-litre really useful boxes, and really you do want these protected from sunlight, because UV coming through the window will do for them. So things are making progress. Books and Banter are on its last week. I believe it is Friday it finishes. So if you can, and you haven't, please give a little bit of money to it. Every little helps, and it's a good venue at the moment. It's going to be an utterly fantastic one if everybody keeps supporting the thing properly. And I can't do it on my own. I wish I could. Still waiting for the plastic card to get the trees. As I say, it's on order, and I shall be getting some of these very nice little trees, armatures that are floating around forever, based up and actually foliaged up so I can actually have some more scenery. I've been doing more of this. This was one I finished a while ago, but they're sitting over there. I need to put brown wash on them, which I will do after this live stream, and you'll be seeing pictures of them tomorrow. I've also pretty much finished the World War II British tanks, but my entire supply of World War II British tank markings have gone AWOL, so I can't check. And I'm getting itchy nose syndrome, something horrible. I'm not picking it, it's itching. It's really annoying me. Don't know why. Might be a mild allergy, which would be really inconvenient. But it seems to happen when I'm on the camera more often than it happens any other time, which, as I say, is a tad vexatious. Of course, the moustache is irritating as well on occasion, but I'm not shaving the wretched thing off because I look like a complete idiot without a beard, as opposed to a partial one with. Anyway, also this is a bit of a trademark and stuff. Anyway, to continue, I've ordered some more transfers. I got them from Warlord rather from Great Escape, because Great Escape was out of stock of the ones I was after, and I'm rather hoping Warlord will have the sort of turnaround that Great Escape do, because sometimes Warlord can be really slow on their turnaround with figures, but as it's just a sheet of transfers. I've painted some of the transfers, some of the markings on with a brush, but there are things like the circle, square, triangle IDs for British tanks that I can't do freehand, or I can do freehand, but the transfers look much better. The models have been no, I just need to lightly varnish the models after I've done the transfers, and they will be off to their forever home, as the nice gentleman that sent them to me will be getting them back to play with. I really like these new 3D sculpts, 3D ones, and I'm considering getting a commercial license to print myself. I don't have a printer, but I do have access to people who have printers, and we can come to a business arrangement. I'm pretty sure about that. I would like I'd like to see these STLs, particularly I'd like to see them resin printed, because these are really good for FDMs, but they obviously have the problems and the artifacts of production that you get on FDM, particularly layer lines. However, they are properly printed, which some of the other ones I've seen haven't been, and I've not had to do any remedial work to fix stuff beyond cleaning the occasional straggly bit off with a knife, which is an occupational hazard with any model, because they'll all have artifacts of production on them. They'll just differ from depending on the type. I've got more of the Fenris stuff coming through the post at some point. Hopefully that will be here tomorrow. And I need to clear some space again to get that assembled, because that's going to take up a lot of space when it's built. At the moment, it doesn't take up that much space, but it's in a non-constructive, non-assembled fashion. And it's big, heavy, chunky resin scenery by the same people who did this, which I got off from Partisan. I'm planning on being off to other Partisan and actually taking part in some of the participation games this time, because last Partisan was a question of me running around and buying stuff and with specific things in mind, and I'm really hoping to actually get some gaming in, mostly because I want to find some games that I can demo to add to my demo list, because at the moment I've got Chain of Command, Sharp Practice, Dux Britannarum, Frostgrave and Stargrave, and probably Rangers of Shadow Deep. This, by the way, would make nice Rangers scenery. Though I really also want to run 5 Leagues from the Border. Again, this would work for 5 Leagues from the Border, and 5 Leagues from the Border, being a co-op game, will generate its adventures, is better at generating adventures as the game goes, whereas Rangers requires preset scenarios, which means a lot of effort writing them if you aren't using pre-written ones. Pre-written ones are good, but I like homebrew stuff. I like homebrew D&D. I bear in mind I was playing D&D from the days when there was precisely one module, and that was B1, and a lot of that was intended to teach you how to build your own. It's just a feature of the whole D&D genre back in at that point when it was just starting out as a D&D and basic D&D. Still collecting stuff for 5th ed, even though whatever next ed is, 5.56, is on its way, and we'll probably stick with 5th ed for the moment. See if we can loot the subsequent stuff for good ideas. But I've got 2 core campaigns set up now, and I'm playing in one, potentially 2. So I don't want to faff around changing the rules, and if I want to run a different game set that's D&D-ish, I will run Hackmaster again, because Hackmaster is effectively a version of First Ed D&D that works really well and has properly thought through and play-tested rules. If, to be honest, too thoroughly play-tested, as the books seem to take forever to come out, and rather than D&D, which just pumps them out at a rate. However, the stuff that comes out is always of the best quality and well worth the wait. It's just player impatient creature being. After this, I will be going back to doing more varnishing of the Chaos Space Marine Army, which is sitting over there waiting for that. I'm always it's at the matte varnishing stage, and you have to be careful because matte varnish has a white pigment in it, and you really, really, really don't want to mess figures up by effectively painting them white to one extent or another. So I tend to be very cautious and put the varnish on really, really thin, and that requires, as the people who say thin your paints, a couple, maybe 3 coats to get proper coverage and to take the shine down. The reason they're shiny is because they're playing pieces, and you really want the paint job that you've put on them to survive contact with a player. So I use polyurethane gloss varnish underneath it, like the old school chappy I am, and that will largely protect the figures from sweaty fingers, and in a way that just acrylic paint won't, because acrylic paint is slightly porous, whereas the polyurethane, if it's put on properly, isn't. And again, you can get a very thin coat of that to get the protective value. Also, if the figures start to mechanically wear and you need to revarnish them, you can see because they go shiny in the places where they're worn, and you can just brush over the top. Only figure from the Chaos I need to finish painting is the Heldrake, which is currently just over there, but I'm going to get the varnishing out of the way before I carry on with that, because I've now got the grabby handle, so I can actually manipulate it while I'm painting the underneath, and do that without handling the model, because even though I fixed it, I was having trouble with mechanical wear from me handling it repeatedly, because you have to keep swinging it round. This is why I base things, so you've got something to hang on to and manipulate. It's also why I don't use painting handles, because I find them awkward, because I got in the habit of coordinating the two together, and given how uncoordinated I am as a general rule, let's not interfere with something that works. Also seeing some nice buildings and war bases, which I can use for my Far East Asia stuff. Couple of from the American Civil War range, and a sawmill which I'm going to convert to be a rubber something to do with rubber, because obviously rubber was one of the things that they did in large parts of Southeast Asia, the rubber tree being native there. And I'm going to do a rubber plantation, and I think the sawmill, with a few adjustments, is going to make a very nice rubber plantation work area. It's also got a similar sort of planked roof to the war bases Far East stuff, so it'll fit in. There's also a couple of Europeanish looking houses with verandas, which wouldn't look that out of place as being European rural dwellings in Far East Asia, either British or Dutch. I'm getting some more flashier buildings for sort of bigger towns where they might look quite European. In fact, I've seen pictures of Batavia, which was the capital of Dutch East Indies, that look like bits of Rotterdam, Amsterdam, with the classic Dutch 17th century houses in them, or copies of them. So I'm going to get some of those. Sarissa do a really nice one of those, which I am going to be getting some of, so I can actually do part of that. But mostly I foresee the action being rural, so it's going to be jungle, it's going to be indigenous buildings, it's going to be adapted European colonial style buildings as much as possible. Again, I also rather like the idea of the new war bases factories and workshops, which again wouldn't be that out of place, some of them. And again, them being war bases, the pimping them up and fiddling about with them and putting internal walls in them and that sort of thing is something that you can really do. As far as Books and Banter goes, at the moment it's running. They have a site. It's, as you've probably seen from some of the pictures films I've put up, and I haven't put them up on YouTube yet, but I will be. It's coming along. I haven't filmed the main cafe area because it's still being worked on, and whilst it's usable as a cafe area, there are various bits of it which are fenced off, where there are tools and there's industrial stuff and there's fixing going on out of hours, not while it's been working, obviously. And there's a few other bits like additional toilets to go in, as it doesn't have a disabled toilet at the minute. It will have, and that's one of the reasons we need more money needs donated to the thing, to the crowdfunder. I will be donating some more money when I'm being paid for that World War II stuff. Some of that will go towards, because it's an asset, and it's an asset I value, so I'm backing it to the hilt. And whilst I don't expect you to back it quite to the level I have, just do what you can, because it's greatly appreciated. And if you're from out of the area, you'll be more than welcome to pop in, and I might even buy you a coffee. I'm, after all, not from Yorkshire, and gratitude is, it gets rewarded. I will also be taking the demo thing on the road once I've got ironed the creases out of it, because it's been a while since I've been social that much, what with COVID lockdowns, mental health issues, all that joyous fun stuff. So it will be good to be out being me and being social to the level that I am happy being social when I'm okay. But again, that's something I'm going to be working on. A couple of channel recommendations while I'm about it. I have been following a chap called Kernel of Truth, who has a little YouTube channel, bigger than mine, but then again, I think everybody's is bigger than mine. And he does scratch built stuff, and it is, I think it's vaguely 10mm scale, the project that he's doing very slowly, but it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's really inspiring me to get on and get my scenery building head on, to the point that I'm having to stop myself from building scenery to get on with actual work. Though I am considering putting this sort of thing up on Etsy at some point. Not this particular one, this is sort of for the personal collection, but I do like doing little bits of scenery like that, and it's unique, and so sets of this might end up on Etsy. It's also light enough to post quite easily, and making it is a change from the painting, because it also involves the same skill set that I've got from painting. I just need to find a few craft paints which are similar colours to my favourite non-craft paints for painting scenery, because painting scenery with shall we say wargame figure painty level paints is A, unnecessary, and B, gets rather expensive, and I don't want to have to put prices up to cover the fact that I'm using industrial quantity, using small scale paints on something like this. There's also quite a possibility of kit bashing with MDF buildings and putting a bit more detail in them. And I have a big load of Wild West plastic buildings to build, and I intend getting some more of those so I can run What a Cowboy, which I need to learn. So a What a Cowboy demo would be quite useful, so at least get an idea of what's going on. And demos of Dead Man's Hand. Sorry, this is itching at the moment. I have an itch, and I also have coffee, because I can hear the voice starting to go, which probably means that about a half hour might be the limit for tonight, but we'll see, especially if we get anybody in the chat that's going to talk to me, and we'll just get chat to them. I know there's somebody there lurking, because I can see, because you've been spotted. The other thing I have in mind for Books and Banter is, and this is good because they're just up the road from Woodyard, is sorting out some nice wargamey tables. These will be 6x4s and 2x2s for one-on-one skirmish games, and 4x4s for larger, multiplayer skirmish games like Silver Bayonet, where you may have 3 or 4 sides, or Frostgrave and Stargrave, where you may have 3 or 4 sides. Quite a lot of Frostgrave scenery, obviously, in the work, either here already or in the works. I'm working on the same level for Stargrave, and I'm looking for some nice sci-fi 3D prints for things like shuttles and small space planes and that sort of thing, as well as modifying up some modern and near future stuff for scenery. I've also got some Infinity stuff, some scenery that I designed for Infinity when I was playing Infinity before the lockdown, and I'd like to get that on the table. Well, I'd like to get assembled, because it never left the box. It arrived after lockdown had started, so I just left it, because it was in a heavy big box, and it was better just in that box. But I'll get that out, I'll assemble it and probably tart it up, because I had bits and pieces to tart that up, and some loose bits of scatter scenery still floating around, lights, lamps, barriers, that sort of thing, and I can do a nice black asphalt base plate. The boards that I'm thinking of doing for Books and Banter are basically, they're going to be MDF, but I'm covering them in felt. Oh, is it itching like bugger? It's not a moustache. This is me that's itching. And it's not fleas because they're the wrong place, or scabies because I've been nowhere near anything with scabies. I've had scabies. I got it off a patient years ago and it wasn't particularly fun, so don't recommend. So they're going to be covered in felt for two reasons. One, it will give them, it'll make them look better, but two, it'll also, if they're covered on both sides, so they're 8mm thick and you've got felt on both sides, you will have a board that will sit on a table, and it will sit and it will sink. It won't. It's less likely to be knocked by clumsy wargamers. I'm also rounding the corners off again because I don't know about any other wargamer, but I walk into the corners of tables quite a lot, and having them not sharp means I get fewer dead legs or wherever they hit me. And I did manage to nearly do myself a menace in Books of Banter when I clipped the corner of their paint stand table. Not their fault, just clumsy wargamer, but clumsy wargamers are a thing. I know this because I'm not the only one I've ever met, and I'm not the worst. Mention Igor, mention other people who might actually have money to sue, should I make a big thing about it. But basically, yeah, I'm going to make them some nice boards. Again, it'll help me with the demos, it'll help me with showing things off. There's a few forthcoming games that I'd like to have a go at. There's mostly in a small scale fantasy-ish skirmish thing, but again, and of course I want to get Mordheim to the table, and Mordheim is the next project for things like this, in that I will be actually building not only that as burnt out houses, but I'll be building sort of bigger, more intact ruins with bits of the walls left. So we've got that. We'll have that up to a certain height, and then we'll have half timbered walls and stuff like that. But I need to sort that out. I need some place to work, and clearing and packing and sorting and organising will help all of that. And probably a van to take everything down to Books and Banter van there and back. I appear to have two people lurking, which is lovely, and will encourage me to carry on a little bit. You lucky people. As I say, Mordheim is a little bit of an elderly set of rules, and probably isn't as streamlined and elegant as the more modern ones that cover a similar sort of subject, but it's quirky. It's a very good set of rules. It's one of Workshop's better set of rules. Necromunda, which was a bit more clumsy even than Mordheim, because you had more individual character development, whereas Mordheim had heroes and it had ordinary people, and ordinary people were toned down the same way they are in, rank and file were toned down the same way they are in Rangers of Shadow Deep, and you concentrated on your heroes for the majority of it. But you could get rank and file could become heroes, but you get a maximum of 5, and this is reflected in Rangers again, where you've got a more modern system where you've got fewer people in the party that but you've got your ranger, who's your character, who's your hero, and then you've got up to 7 or 8 other people. I suspect from looking at the rules, you could go beyond the 7 or 8 other people as a total, because most of those rule sets that Joseph McCullough writes have actually got quite a bit of stretch in them. I accidentally play tested Silver Bayonet when I first got it with 10, and it worked fine. Never even noticed it, because you can always tell when you're getting towards the limit of figures that the game becomes slow and it begins to chug and things show signs of strain. But as it could cope with quite easily 10, probably more than that, and I had a few scenarios for early, pre you becoming a Silver Bayonet unit, where that you'd be effectively a foraging party or stuff like that. Ruckus is another game I want to get out and play, but I don't really have the appropriate figures for it, and I keep looking at various people's figures and thinking, I'd like to paint them and get hold of some, but I'm throwing a lot of money at various things at the moment, including this camera, a new computer, that sort of thing. So it's all a question of juggling the plates when it comes to finances to get the most out of it. And again, everything is building up, but it's building up slowly. So if either of you people who are hiding in the chat would like to comment, I might reply to you. Other than that, I'm probably going to be calling it, because the old voice is going and I've got varnishing to do. I don't want to do varnishing. I hate varnishing. It is, I must admit, one of my least favourite occupations. I really wish you didn't have to do it. Well, actually, I really wish it was the old days when you could just gloss varnish things and everybody did that. Mostly because you will seldom wreck a figure with gloss varnish, where you often will with where you can with matte. And that's mainly the bloody moustache, and I can't tell which side of it. Yeah, I've been trying to find this bit of moustache that keeps getting in my mouth, I keep clipping it off and it keeps coming back. But anyway, I'm going to call it for now. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for listening in the future. And if you missed any of it, feel free to go back to the beginning and catch up. I do this with lots of people's streams, whoever they are. Oh, and there's a very, very nice Yorkshire Gamist one on Trevor Dixon. I always thought Trevor Dixon was younger than me. He isn't. That was quite shocking. And with that, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye for now. Take care, everybody.